Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Hayomi Bava Metzia Kuf Hey. We are holding right on the top V'amar Rava, continuing where we left off on the topic of an iska. So an iska is a business transaction which was structured, it's like an investment, which was structured as a part loan and part deposit. So basically you give, Reuven gives Shimon $100 and asks him to invest it, or it would seem from Rashi this was primarily done with merchandise. So basically he gives him $100 of merchandise, sell it off, and then reinvest the dividends and manage the fund for let's say a year, at which end we will sit down and do the balance sheet. And as we explained yesterday, based on Rashi, in order to avoid any ribis, so we have to compensate Shimon. Basically, he's like the fund manager, looking after Reuven's portion as well. Right? Only half of this 100 belongs to Shimon, is like a loan to Shimon, which makes sense why he's looking after it. The other half, the other 50, belongs to Reuven. It's like a deposit. So why is Shimon endeavoring to bring Reuven profits on his half? The answer is because Reuven is paying him for it. How is he paying him for it? Because Reuven is accepting upon himself half of the losses corresponding to his part of the fund, but he is willing to accept less than half if there are profits. He's only taking a third of the profits. So that circumvents any ribis concerns, because basically Shimon is not being compensated for his efforts. And that's the root of the whole, the source of the whole heter iska, arrangement that we do today. It's based on this idea that the fellow is really just like a fund manager and being compensated for his efforts, and it allows him to provide returns to the investor. Ve'amar Rava, says Rava like this: Haiman de kabel iska min chavrei v'fasit. So Shimon accepted this deal, right? He's looking after this the fund and lost money. So he didn't inform Reuven at the time. Rather, Torah Malya, he went all out and he reinvested and he worked very hard to refill that loss. Okay, now it's back up to 100. Right? He didn't inform. He never told Reuven about this episode. So at the end of the day, Lo Matzi Amarle, Shimon can't turn to Reuven and say, look, Dori mahech pseida b'hadoi. Remember, we started at 100. It dropped to 50. So essentially, there was a $50 loss. And you're supposed to be taking half of that, right? You take half of any loss. So take off 25. So now you only get back 75 from the original, amount. And although I now brought it back up to 100, so that 50, which I have profited, is profit. It's not just considered a reinstatement of the original amount. There was a $50 loss, of which you take $25 because you get half the losses. And now there was a $50 gain, $50 profit, of which you only get take a third. That's the deal. You only get a third of the profits. So essentially, you're going to get back less than 100. 92 and change, right? Or something like that. So, can he do that? No, Lo Matzi Amarle. He can't tell him, Dari, carry, accept upon yourself, Ma'ech Pseida Badoi, a portion of this loss with me, and the other is considered profit, from which you only take a third. You can't do that, because Reuven tells him, you know why you endeavor to go refill this loss and get us back on track without telling me? It was for your own benefit. So that people don't refer to you as mafsid iski, one who mismanages funds. So basically, it was to your gain and benefit to ignore the loss, and you were basically meichel me, right? So yeah, it's basically back up to square one. There's no loss, there's no gain, in which case I get back my 100. Now we have two fund managers. So they took money from Reuven, right? So now Shimon and Levi are meant to invest this money and try to earn a profit on Reuven's money based on this, iska arrangement, but they're both sort of joint fund managers. V'ravach, and the investment bore fruit, there is profit. And now Shimon turns to Levi and he says, look, Ta liflik. Come, let's go split it up. I went out. We're doing well. I want to just split up. Could he do that? No. So if Levi, the partner, responds, Nirvach tvei, let's stick around longer together and, we'll make more money. Money brings money, right? Din hu de ma'akev, yeah. So Levi can stand in his way. And the reason is as follows. The Bach takes out the vav, and the following is merely like an explanation as to why each partner could hold back the other one from walking off the deal. So let's say Shimon asks for half his profit. He says, by the way, the Mefarshim explain that apparently the Balabayis, the investor, is not involved anymore because he got his portion already. Some Mefarshim, Rabbi Yehuda says, I was speaking that there was some interesting arrangement where the investor was only going to get up to, a certain amount of profit, and they got to that point already. So going forward until the end of the year, until the end of the term that was stipulated, it's basically Shimon and Levi's business. Okay, so now let's say he says, Havli palga derafcha, I want half my profits. I'm not going to ask you for the actual principle, but just give me half my profits. Levi could respond by saying, look, the profits are bound to the principle, meaning the more there is in the fund, the greater the potential for investment and for making more money and for offsetting any losses. I don't want to give you anything right now. Okay, so Shimon says, look, so provide me half my profits and also half of the actual principal. Let's really split it up and we go our own separate ways. We have two separate funds. Okay, so to this, Levi can respond and say, look, no, this is one deal, it's one package deal. All these monies are sort of bound to each other, committed to each other. The more money there is, the more we can offset any potential losses and regain our footing. Right? So the first request was just, let me take my profit. He says, no. Maybe we're going to lose money, and this way, having more money around allows us to regain our footing. The same thing with the second argument. Okay, if you let's say Shimon says, look, you're fine, I got it. So let's just split everything. On condition that if there's any loss on your end, I'll take responsibility with you on that. So you're not going to lose by, bailing me out. I'll bail you out. You're not losing by me opting out. So Levi said, no, I'm not interested. Why? Mazlo debate trade. If two people together have a greater mazel, and I want you with me until the year is up. Continues the Mishnah. So Rashi explains, this Mishnah is going on a chaycher, right? A fellow who's working in the fields for the sake of the farmer, and is providing a flat rate, 100 bushels a year to the farmer. Now he's working the field, but not interested in being menachish and weeding out, the weeds. And he tells the owner, what difference does it make to you? I mean, why do you care? At the end of the day, I'm going to give you the 100 bushels. What do you care from leaving the weeds? We don't accept this argument because the owner can tell him, I understand, but lamachar, in a year from next month, you're gone, right? Now while you're leaving, you're leaving the field. And guess what? I'm going to be left with a field growing weeds. That's not fair. It says the Gemara, but what if the sharecropper tells the owner, look, after I finish harvesting, I'm going to really overturn all the soil. You'll get a good weeding there. So the owner can say, no, I want good quality wheat to begin with. And that only happens when you weed those weeds out during the growing season. Right? What you can do later is not helpful for the actual grain growing today. Okay, so the fellow says, I'm going to purchase chitim for you from the marketplace, so you'll get the best quality. So you can say, I'm not interested. I'm on my own locally grown produce. I want my chitim for my land. It's personal, right? He wants it. So he says, look, so the Shimon, the worker, can say, look, Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to weed out just that corner of the field, which is going to provide for your portion of this harvest, right? That's fine, right? So the owner can tell him, look, I'm not interested. You know why? Because you're going to put my farm on a blacklist. You're going to give me a bad reputation. When people see later on that there is weeds growing out of my field, nobody's going to want to buy it or deal with it. So that's why you can object to this type of, v'atnan. But the Mishnah says that his argument is a bit different. We're giving all kinds of responses, but in the Mishnah it seems to be pretty clear that he's just saying, look, in the future, malas, it's going to produce weeds. That seems to be his main argument. Elo says, the Gemara, you're right, that's the main point. Because the owner can tell the farmer, look, bizra the nafal, once the weed, seeds drop into the ground during the growing season, even though you're going to overturn the soil at the end of the season, it's too late because the seeds that are embedded in the ground are not visible now. They're going to sprout forth later on when you're gone, and I'm going to be stuck with them. So therefore you can insist that it does a proper weeding process during the growing season. Says the next Mishnah, so here Rashi says the Mishnah is referring to a true makabel. So he's committed to develop the field with a percentage arrangement, right? So he gives a portion of the produce to the owner and keeps the rest. So what happened? He started working, and it was not really a successful season. And the field did not really produce. And the farmer says, look, it's not worth my while. I want to move out. Does he have to continue? Does he have to get to the finish line? So the answer is like this. If there's enough produce there that can potentially produce form a pile of grain can be formed from it, so that is enough to force the farmer, the sharecropper, to stay on the job. Rabbi Yehuda, what kind of measure is this, a kri? I mean, a pile, okay, but what size field are we speaking of? A small field, a huge field, right? So according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's not really a proper determination. Rather, it's about whether there is enough grain that's going to be harvested from this field that can actually provide enough seeds to replant that same field. So this is, field size oriented, and that's why it's going to be the determining factor. Okay, so he's working, and there's no produce there. If there's enough there for a kri, he's got to stay on the job. Why? Because remember, that's what he committed to him in writing. I'm going to come forth and plow and plant and cut and bundle and thresh and winnow and present you with a pile of grain. Okay, so if there's a pile, he's got to do it. And he continues to tell the owner in writing, right? This was his commitment. And you'll come along. You'll take half the crop, whatever they made up. And myself, because of my efforts, because of my expenses, I'll also take the other half. So that's why, if there's a potential for a kri, he's got to stay on the job. Now, what is considered a kri? He gives us a very specific, shear. The pile has to be big enough so that you can, when you stick the rachas, the pitchfork, into that pile, it sort of gets stuck into it. It stays standing. That's how big the pile has to be. The question is like this: Rachas hayetzim hagisa mai. So the pitchfork is like sort of a wide, fork. So you have a small pile, and you stick the pitchfork in, and you still see it. It's like sticking out on both edges. Is that okay? Or does it have to be fully covered by that pile to be considered? Tashma, here comes a raya. Amar Ravo, lididi, mifashel minei. Oh, the Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Chanin. It was explained to me from him, whether directly or indirectly, and he explained. Kol shein koines shaloi roya pnei hacham. It must be that the koines shaloi, like the sort of the bottom, the fork part, is not exposed to the sun. It basically means to say it has to be fully covered. So how much is that in terms of volume? Itmar, Levi, Amar, Levi says shalosh sin, 3 sa of grain. Devei Rabbi Yanai, Amri, in the Beis Medrash of Rabbi Yanai, they gave a different shir, sosayim. Amar Shlokes, you should know, sosayim shamru, when they spoke about sosayim, chutz minayitzah, that's after you deduct for the expenses. So you end up with 2 sa. Now Rashi explains that on account of this shiur presented by Rabbi Yanai, we're going to move on to many other halachos and mishnahs which involve Rabbi Yanai's interpretation of a specific volume. It's not awesome. I have a mishnah over there in Maseches Oiktzin. You have these inferior quality olives and grapes that never really ripen properly. Are they considered a fruit with respect to susceptibility to Kabbalah's Tumah? Right? Can they become tamei as a fruit? They say, yeah, it's sufficiently a fruit and considered oichel. Ubesil metara, no, it's free of any tumah, it's not considered a proper fruit. My priest zaysin. What exactly are these things? Amar Afuna Rishay zaysin, the wicked ones, they're not the proper ones. Amar Yosef Micro, what do we find? The term pritze is referring to something, off the beaten track, something abnormal and something, improper. Ubnei pritze amcha yinosu lahamad chazar nechshalu. There will be these outcasts from your nation, Klal Yisrael. They're going to try to, present their false vision. They're going to fail. And actually, it's a reference to the Esav's crowd. That's one pshat, Rashi, and the Metzuda there says it's going on the wicked of Klal Yisrael itself. Yeah. Rav Nachman Bitzal Kama Mehachu has another source for this. V'hoilu ben Paris Shefech Dam. That we see that a Shefech Dam, a Rasha, a murderer is called a Paritz. Okay, Kama Pritze Zaysin. Now we understand these aren't really good quality fruit, but at what point are they considered Pritze Zaysin? How little oil are they producing? Rabbi Lazar Amar Arba'as Kamen L'Koira. So Koira is that the crushing the crushing beam, right? So they would fill the olive press, right, to capacity with olives beneath the Koira, and if that press, right, that squeeze can produce 4 kav of oil, right, and not more, so it's considered pritze. It's not, these aren't properly producing olives, and they qualify as pritzim. 3 times as much, 2 sa'ah of juice from a single, run. But there really isn't a machlekes here, because they're speaking about different locations. Depends how much you put into the press to begin with, right? The first shita is going where they put a kur, right, in one run, in one receptacle there. Rabbi Yanai was speaking where they used to put 3 times as much, 3 kur. So it's expected to generate 3 times as much material, right? So 2 sa'ah, which is 3 times 4 kav, because the sa'ah 6 kav. So that's how you get to that total. Toner up on. We have another halacha in Maseches Zavin. So we know that a Zav who's Tameh cannot be supported by a Tar, nor can a Tar be supported by him. Otherwise, he becomes Tameh, right? Because the Zav transmits Tumah just by way of leaning on the Tahar and vice versa. Suppose a fellow who is Tahar, pure, goes with a Zav who experiences emission and is Tameh. They climb up to this tree, which is a wobbly tree, a weak tree, on this branch which is wobbling. Tameh, so the Tahar now becomes Tameh because we assume that they sort of leaned on each other, and Rashi explains, even though he was 10 feet away, but the fact is, being that this thing is moving up and down, inevitably the weight of either one is sort of leaning on the other as they go up and down, and that's sufficient to transmit tumah. How do we determine a wobbly tree? The tree is not fat enough, its trunk does not allow to be formed into a roiva, a certain size container of a roiva, a certain size container. So you can't really bore out a roiva hakav, right, in that trunk. It's not big enough for that. So that's considered a weak tree. Hechidami was considered a weak branch. So when you grab it, it sort of gets enwrapped in your hand and is not visible. Another halacha, again with a shear from Rabbi Yanai. A fellow was walking in a place called a Beis HaPras, a field which was plowed over, meaning there was a grave which was plowed over. With the Rabbanon, that area is considered tamei, provided you actually touched or moved any small bone chip. So let's say a fellow is walking along in the Beis HaPras. Al gabi avanim sheyachal hasitan. He's walking on these wobbly stones. Ala adam balabem, or he's taking a ride on a person or an animal who are wobbly. So he's not really insulated from the tumah below, because the animal or the person beneath him is sort of being affected by his weight and moving around by his weight. So he, in effect, is moving the person, who in turn is moving the bone chips. So now the tumah travels up to the person on top. So he's telling me, how do we determine a weak person? So if he's carrying a person piggyback, and his knees are sort of banging to each other, he can't really support his weight. It's called a weak animal. When you sit on it, it lets out waste. It can't really tolerate that weight. Another halacha regarding something pertaining to volume. When it comes to davening or tefillin, there is a shear of 4 kav, pertaining to what? What does this mean? Let's sign it. We learned the price. The fellow is carrying a load on his shoulders. Comes time to daven. Must he remove the load or not? Well, it depends if it distracts him. How do we determine? If the bag that he's carrying is less than 4 kav in size, so it's just, by the way, it's not really going to distract him. He just slings it behind him, and he proceeds with tefillah. But if it's a large size package, arba'as kabin, so it distracts his concentration. He puts it down on the floor, and he proceeds to daven. How does this question pertain to wearing tefillin? The son will learn in a brayso. Let's say he's carrying a load on his head with his tefillin. Must he remove the load? If it's weighing down on his tefillin, then it's disrespectful. He should remove it. Otherwise, it's okay. What's considered a heavy load which must be removed? Once again, the same idea, a 4 kav volume load. Here's another aspect to this point. If he has waste on his head, with his tefillin, that's not respectful. He has to remove his tefillin, but he has to be careful. He shouldn't just shift his tefillin to the side and keep it on his head. On the other hand, nor should he tie it around his waist. It's disrespectful to the tefillin. Rather, you should take off the tefillin shal yiraysh, and guess what? Tie it and place it right next to the tefillin shal yad on his arm, and that's a good, respectful place. There's a different shita. Rabbi Shila says that it's not about a large size load. Even a small, teeny load is not respectful for a tefillin. Even the tefillin bag, you would think that's okay. They put on his head with his tefillin. No, also So, according to Rabbi Shila, so Rabbi Yana, we know 4 kav is an issue, less is not a problem. According to Rabbi Shila, what's the issue? How much is a problem? Amar Abaye, even a teeny amount. Even a quarter of a litra, a really teeny small amount of load is a problem. And it would seem from the Gemara, there's no limit. Basically, anything is an issue. Okay, so this is back to the Mishnah. A fellow refuses to finish the job. He says it's not worth my while. So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, well, if this field has potential to still produce enough seeds that can be replanted, that can replant the field for next season, then he's obligated to finish the job. Let's have an exact volume amount on that. Rabbi Ami Amar, Rabbi Yechanan, he quotes Rabbi Yechanan, Arba Se'in, according to the Gra, it's Arba Kamen, Likur. So you have an area called a base Kur, Rashi says 50 Amma by 1500 Amma, which is about, I guess, 75,000 square Amma, right? So this type of field needs 4 Kav or 4 Sa, depending on the Girsa, for replanting. So that's the Shir. Okay, and proportionately, based on the size of this field that we're dealing with. Rabbi Ami Dilei Amar, Rabbi Ami himself disagreed. He said, Amar Shmoinas in the Kur, a greater amount, 8 per Kur, and prorated according to the current field size. I'll explain to you why according to Rabbi Yechanan you need less than the other Shita. It depends on the quality of the land. In the time of Rabbi Yechanan's days, earlier on in history, the land was more fertile and needed less seeds to get it going. But later on, during Rabbi Ami's days, the land got weaker and needed more seeds. Then Hassam, we have another Mishnah over there in Meseches Peah, which ties into our discussion. So here comes along a strong wind and blows away the bundles before the poor people got a chance to pick up their take, the leket, the shikha, etc. What do we do now? So we have to make an evaluation. We sit down, we estimate how much leket is typically found in such a field, and that's what it gives. Gives it to the poor people. No, I'll give you a set amount. You don't have to sit and praise. There is a predetermined set amount for this. What is that? The kama kedei nefila. Right? So basically it means the Rashi says kedei nipol leket akotzav. Oh, nefila could have two meanings. Here it means the assumed amount of leket that would have fallen. Nefila means how much would have fallen. Okay, and we have a set amount for that, which actually ties into the other kedei nefila, which means the amount of seeds needed to replant this field. Okay, so v'kama kedei nefila, how much is that? Ki asa Rav Dimi, Amar Balaz, v'tem Rabbi Yechon, arbas kaben lekur. 4 kav per every kur. Now, what does this mean? But Rabbi Yirmiyah, what do you mean to say? Lekur zera. So it means 4 kav is the ratio per kur of seeds, meaning a sada, a field, in which a huge amount of seeds were needed for planting. So that size field generates 4 kav of the aniyim, material. So that's one way to look at it. Or does he mean to say the 4 kav ratio pertains to a field which produced a kur of produce? Now, if you take on the first point, that it's based on the amount needed to plant a field, okay, so l'mapelas yad, how do you reckon it? Based on manual planting, in which case the farmer is more sparing, right? He's more careful. Or l'mapelas shvarim, or based on how much you need for planting by way of the animals. They say take this perforated container and fill it with seeds, and the animals run around, so there's much more waste there. So a kur of animal planting, or manual planting. Tashma, so let's figure this out. Techi asa Ravin, Amar Rebavu, Amar Balazav, Amar B'Yechanan. Arbas kabin, the 4 kav pertains to lekur zera, to a kur of seeds needed to plant a field. So basically, a place which needed a kur of planting will generate 4 kav for the poor people. But when it's still not sure, manual or by way of the automated system, the animal system. Take it, we'll leave it unresolved. Okay, we'll leave the rest of Bez Hashem for tomorrow. Let's just recap today's DAF. So we started with the Iska, right? So the whole Iska is considered a package deal. There's no splitting, there's no walking away in the middle. It's all meshubah to each other until the end of the term. A fellow must weed a field that he's working on. He can't just walk away. He's bound to the owner to maintain his field properly. Suppose there's very little being produced this year, that he still has to stay on the job. We have a Shita of Tanakama, which sets the minimum at a Kri, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Kedei Nefila. We had a bunch of Shiurim from Dvir Rabbi Yanai, which pertain to this halacha, which pertains to the halacha of the Zeis and Vanavim, to the halacha of the Zot, the Beis HaPras, the Tefillah, and the Tefillin. Okay, all the best to you. Atzlacha Rabbah.